So, the liberal cancel culture is at it again. And this time, of all things, they're going after, get this, Mr. Potato Head.
What? A toy potato? They're attacking a plastic toy potato.
Yup. Apparently, they're losing their minds over the fact that it's Mr. Potato Head.
Ugh, jeez. So of course it's because he's a man.
Exactly.
You have got to be kidding me.
Nope. Dead serious. It seems these leftist snowflakes can't handle the reality that there are two genders.
Oh my god, it's called science, men and women. Look it up, people.
And they thought someone's fee-fees might get hurt if he were actually a male potato like God intended. So they changed him to just, ready? Brace yourself, Potato Head.
What the hell? Well, there goes my childhood, straight down the toilet.
I know, right? What kind of world do we live in where we're actually reassigning the gender of a toy potato?
Wow, that is just twisted. I mean, where do these LGBXYZPDQ whatever wackos get off thinking they can push their agenda on our kids? I mean, if they want to do their thing, that's fine.
Well, except get married.
Well, yeah, that goes without saying.
Or adopt kids.
Of course not.
Or show public displays of affection, or basically be a couple in public.
Ew, God no. Live your life, but don't put it in people's faces.
Or in any way be protected from discrimination.
Are you kidding me? No! We have this thing called religious freedom. Read your constitution, people. But my point is, I'm willing to live side by side with, them. As long as they're willing to tolerate my disagreeing with their lifestyle and doing everything I can to interfere with their right to live it.
Which is the only way to have true tolerance.
Exactly. Tolerance of ideas. But for the love of God, leave the kids out of it. Don't be coming into our homes and forcing them to act out reassignment surgeries on their toys. They should be acting out more age-appropriate things like keeping house or battlefield combat.
Exactly. Let kids be kids. Don't push them to pick a gender. Hell, they shouldn't be making life-defining decisions about anything at that age, except, of course, a permanent commitment to their parents' religion. And why are these people so worked up about the gender of a potato anyway?
I know, right? Do we not have anything better to be talking about?
Well, apparently not, because the liberals just can't seem to shut up about it. Every time I get on Facebook, I see my conservative friends posting memes about how the liberals won't stop talking about this. All morning, this channel's been nothing but wall-to-wall coverage of how liberals won't stop talking about this. Hell, I was out half the night last night talking to my friends about how outrageous this is and how the liberals just won't stop talking about it.
Jeez, get a life, people. It's just a toy potato.
Well, it's a male potato, and apparently that's enough to get the left spinning out of control. So once more, like with everything else they don't approve of, they respond by shutting it down. And that, ladies and gentlemen, and yes, I said ladies and gentlemen, deal with it, snowflakes, is what so-called liberal tolerance looks like these days. An inability to deal with anything that disagrees with or offends you in the slightest, and an incessant need to go out and whine and cry and bully until you get your way. And what did they feel the need to bully this time? Mr. Potato Head, an innocent plastic toy that's done nothing but bring endless joy to countless generations of children, yet still had the audacity to commit the one unforgivable crime, the crime of offending the left. And so we bid farewell to Mr. Potato Head, only the latest victim of the out-of-control cancel culture. What will be next? Only time will tell. Okay, people, you won't believe what it is this time.
Oh boy, do I even want to know?
They canceled Dr. Seuss!
What? Let me guess. Was it because the Grinch stole Christmas instead of the holidays?
Oh, I don't know. It was something about racism or something.
God, how oversensitive can you get? I mean, Dr. Seuss? I'm in utter shock.
Yeah, we read Dr. Seuss all the time when I was younger, and what, do they think there was like racism back then?
They probably think so, but last I checked, the Civil War was over by that point. Learn your history, people. How, when I think about it, I'm pretty sure one of my friends was a minority of like some kind or another.
Yeah, and my grandpa said I'm part Cherokee, yet I don't remember all this rampant racism they claim was all over the place.
Exactly. But these leftist liberals act like Abraham Lincoln, who happened to be a Republican, by the way. Learn your history, people. Never freed the slaves, and America was like a racist country.
Yeah, so now they're on an endless quest to erase this so-called offensive past by canceling everything that offends them. One day they cancel Disney, then they cancel the Redskins.
Yeah, maybe on that one.
Maybe, then it's Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima.
I mean, give me a break. One day they want their own history month, and the next they're complaining when you give them heritage on a box. You can't win with these people.
They cancel all those Me Too guys just for that stuff, and the Mandalorian lady just for using a certain analogy to talk about how everybody wants to beat up Republicans.
Which is true.
Oh yeah, so true. If anything, the way we're being treated is worse than the Holocaust.
Oh, way worse. Learn your history, people.
And now they're canceling Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss? It's just out of control.
So much for open-mindedness, I guess.
Open-minded to whatever they believe, otherwise you're canceled.
Yup, canceled.
It makes you long for the good old days, back when people weren't so wound up.
Yeah, when you could ever say anything without everybody getting so offended.
And nobody tried to shut down those they disagreed with. Man, it's a real shame these liberals had to single-handedly invent cancel culture and then run around trying to shut down anything that offends them.
Yup, such a darn shame.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is cancel culture at work. What will it be next time? As always, only time will tell. But one thing you can be assured of is that before you know it, we won't be allowed to say anything, at least that the left doesn't agree with. And then, one day, America will blow up and we'll have Stalinistic socialism like 1984 with liberal Big Brother thought control. Mark my words.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
Who's there?
It's me, your old friend Jack.
Jack? Jack Lindell? Jack, it's you! Well, how you doing, you old dog?
Well, I'm dead. So that's been the main thing lately.
Wow, it's so good to see you again after all these years. Boy, we had some good times, didn't we?
Yep.
Co-hosting those shows on the Awesomeness and Radio Network.
Yeah. Sure beat floating around here dead.
Man, that was great. And you could really just say what was on your mind back then.
Yeah. People didn't exactly tune in to hear us pull punches.
And you were a legend. Nobody owned the libs like you.
Well, I have to admit, it felt pretty good to let fly and tell it like it was.
And you did it all without a care in the world for whether some hypersensitive PC goon would get offended.
Yeah, I was something else. Really stuck it to the liberal media.
And we need more men like you around today, people with a little backbone.
Yep.
I mean, back then, if a man was acting a little fancy, you'd say so. If a woman was unattractive, you weren't scared to describe why. If a certain ethnicity tended to act like thugs, you had no hesitation about pointing it out. And hell, if you wanted to celebrate whenever someone died of HIV because they chose to live an irresponsible lifestyle, then doggone it, you'd celebrate. And you knew it wasn't the end of the world if someone accidentally dropped an N-bomb into a live mic.
Oh, yeah, that was Well, no. In fact, I was a little bit of an ass sometimes.
Well, okay, maybe you weren't perfect. Nobody is. But don't you miss the old days when people weren't always getting so offended by everything
Yeah, but see, actually, as much as I missed those times, being as I wasn't dead and all, I think you've lost some sense of perspective on what life was like back then, and what it's like now.
What? Jack, what are you...
So, I've come to tell you tonight, you're going to be visited by 3 spirits.
3 spirits? What the hell are you...
Listen carefully and heed their advice.
Well, you're right here. Why don't you just tell me whatever it is?
Heed their advice.
Well, that seemed like an uninformative and kind of superfluous visit. Oh well, guess I'll hit the hay.
Book.
What? Who's there? What?
I am the ghost of cancellations past.
What? Oh, yeah, one of those things that Jack said was coming. But what are you talking about, cancellations past? They didn't have cancel culture in the past.
Oh, you think that's... Okay, well, come along. I'm here to show you visions of what once was.
Well, okay, I guess. Where are we going to? Oh, so you can just blink me places. That's cool. I guess it would have killed you to blink me in some decent clothes, but...
I'm cancellations past. I don't care about fashion. Do you recognize that young boy?
Well, holy crap, that was me back when I was a kid.
And do you see where you are?
It looks like a protest? Maybe the one my parents took me to outside of Dr. Spiner's abortion clinic?
Indeed, just over 30 years ago.
Look at me, so cute holding that little sign.
Yep, it was your very first attempt at canceling something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and wait, I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to imply that it's all ironic that I'm against cancel culture because I went to an abortion protest. Well, nice try. We were literally trying to save the lives of babies who were being murdered.
Highly debatable.
And that's way different from how the hypersensitive left overreacts to every little thing that offends it. They are literally trying to stamp out everything they disagree with, and...
Then let's try another one. This is you with your church at one of many protests trying to shut down, let me check my notes, obscene or satanic rock bands.
Well, yeah, everybody has the right to express some disagreement with things that they...
Well, really? Okay, well, you haven't typically seemed to feel that way about everybody, because here's you talking about how the Dixie Chicks should shut up and play.
Well, they're entertainers. I just thought they were being annoying, and it's not like I was trying to get anybody fired.
And here's you demanding that the NFL fire Colin Kaepernick.
He was disrespecting the flag of our country.
A mild, peaceful, symbolic gesture towards something that you feel should be shown reverence, and you thought he should be fired for it.
We're talking about the flag of the United States of...
And you're not the hypersensitive type. You don't try to cancel everybody, you do.
Oh, fine. You come up with one example of...
Right, gotcha. You're very reasonable. Here's you saying everybody should boycott Starbucks for not having enough Christmas stuff on their cups.
Well, that's because they were trying to cancel Christmas.
First off, no, they weren't. You were just mad because their cups weren't Christmassy enough, since you're obviously not some kind of snowflake. And second, does trying to cancel them back make you any better? Oh, here's you encouraging everybody to boycott Nike and set their shoes on fire. That was smart. Here's you trying to get people to boycott Procter & Gamble because of some stupid email rumor. Here's you trying to get people to boycott Hallmark because their commercials showed a same-sex couple.
Okay. That's just me using my voice. It's part of free expression in the marketplace of ideas.
You like free expression?
Well, yeah, it's the cornerstone of...
Oh, so that's why you told everybody that they should stop watching the NBA, because players freely expressed their support for the BLM movement. Or you tried to get Arthur taken off the air for showing a same-sex wedding, or The Last Temptation of Christ for how it betrayed Jesus, or The First Temptation of Christ for how it betrayed Jesus, or the Book of Daniel for how it betrayed Jesus, right?
Well, those things were important. I wasn't just frivolously overreacting about things like inclusion or showing basic respect to others. I was standing up for important things like not displaying forms of sexuality that I disapprove of and never making fun of supernatural beings I think are real.
So, all right, there's a lot to unpack there, but the gist of what you're saying is that cancel culture is a horrible form of censorship and retribution when it's about stuff that other people care about, but it's okay when it's stuff you care about, right?
Well, I mean, of course it sounds stupid when you say it that way.
I was literally reiterating what you said. If anything, I was trying to go out of my way to leave most of the stupid stuff out. It was hard.
Still, this is all way different from...
Look, you're going off script here, all right? What you're supposed to do is like have an emotional realization of like where you went wrong and have like at least carry some of that with you. But I don't get paid to make you understand basic concepts. My job is just to show you stuff, and I did that. And it's time for me to send you back to bed. Jesus.
Well, that was fun. Now hopefully I can get a little sleep.
Buck, wake up.
What? Oh, great. Another one of these.
I am the ghost of cancellations present, and I'm here to show you visions of what currently is.
Why would I need visions of what currently is?
Because you don't pay enough attention in real life, and frankly, you choose to keep your head shoved up.
All right. I don't think I need a pre-vision lecture, so let's just get to it. But can I at least put on some clothes? I take it that's a no about the clothes, then.
You'll be fine. Now, do you know where we're at right now?
I'm not sure exactly which one, but it looks like the toy aisle of a store.
Exactly. And you see that toy right there?
Looks like a Mr. Potato Head, or rather just a potato head without the Mr.
Well, kind of. But look more closely. See, down there in the lower left corner, what's it say?
Looks like it still says Mr. Potato Head.
Exactly. And you know why it still says that? Because the toy is still Mr. Potato Head, and the one next to it is still Mrs. Potato Head.
Well, then why does it just say Potato Head at the top?
Because they changed the overall branding of the toy. But you know what they didn't do? Take away the Mr. Potato Head character, or reassign his gender, or any of the other weird stuff you keep complaining about them doing. Now, yeah, they're also making a playset that has generic potatoes with no assigned gender or any other features that kids can build from the ground up. But there's nothing about this that's twisted or not age appropriate. And in no imaginable way is Mr. Potato Head being canceled. Now, let's go look at something else. This is a meeting of Dr. Seuss Enterprises, where they're discussing some of the racially sensitive material in their books.
Wait, I thought you were the ghost of cancellations present, but this is slightly in the past.
Yeah, and the toy aisle was slightly in the future. We fudge a little, because this is about current cancellations, not events that are happening right at this moment. But getting to the actual point, this is one of the meetings that will result in the company deciding to stop publishing 6 of its books.
Well, goodbye, Cat in the Hat. Thank you, cancel culture.
Oh, you can still read about Cat in the Hat. In fact, you'll probably hear about him now more than ever, since geniuses in your audience are punishing Dr. Seuss Enterprises by throwing money at them. But you want to know which books won't be getting published? And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. If I ran the zoo, McElligot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, and The Cat's Quizzer. Now tell me, Buck, how many of these titles do you actually recognize? In fact, I bet you didn't even notice I made up half those titles.
Oh, yeah, I did. They were,
Actually, I didn't make any of them up, but you didn't know that because that's how unfamiliar you are with this list of books. See, Dr. Seuss is not being canceled, and most of his library will still be published. The people who own the material are just exercising their prerogative as business people in a capitalist economy, a right I believe you consider sacrosanct, at least until it starts to offend you, to decide what they do and don't produce and sell. It's as simple as that. You know what we won't see here or anywhere else?
What?
A massive left-wing presence demanding that this happen. And that's how it is in a lot of these cases. We have businesses making decisions in response to a shifting cultural zeitgeist. And yes, to some degree, to varying amounts of social pressure that are part of the very open conversation within the marketplace of ideas that you seem to hold in such high esteem. Now, are some of these decisions hasty and extreme? Yeah. Do businesses sometimes go a little too far trying to play it safe? Sure. And do some elements of the left get too severe or oversensitive? Sometimes, as happens within any loosely affiliated group of people. But if you'll remember the time you spent with Ghosts of Cancellations Past,
Yes, I get your point loud and clear.
then I hope you heed it. It's easy to blame every decision that doesn't sit right with you on a single monolithic left you see as acting in a unified force to bully people, erode traditions, and cancel things you hold dear. But this unified force doesn't exist. The left isn't one body, and it arguably speaks out with less unity and volume than the Evangelical Right. So,
You know, that first ghost said something interesting.
what's that?
He said something about how it wasn't his job to convince me of stuff, just to show me things and be done. You think we can do that this time too?
If that's what you wish, sure, to bed with ya. But in closing, let's be abundantly clear that most of what you're saying about these cancellations is just plain wrong.
Buck. Buck.
Oh, great. Let me guess.
I am the ghost of Cancellation's future, and if you'll come with me, I'd like to show you something.
Yeah. Visions of what is to be. Don't worry, I catch on pretty quickly.
That's what we're about to find out. Do you know what we're looking at right now?
I guess we're standing in the middle of town? No flying cars or anything, but I suppose... Wait, don't spoil it. We're in the future.
Yes, 50 years in the future.
Cool, I guess. So...
Just give it a minute. Take a breath and let yourself drink it in.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be looking for.
Don't overthink it. Sometimes the answer is in the mundane, in what you're not seeing.
What I'm not seeing. Great. Thanks, Master Yoda. I think I feel wiser all...
Everything looks pretty normal, right?
Yeah. So, you wanted to bring me to the future just to show me how normal it is?
Actually, yes. Because in this normalcy, what we're not seeing is everyone standing around afraid to speak for fear they'll say the wrong thing and offending someone. See? They look pretty comfortable, right?
I guess so.
If you were to wander around and eavesdrop, you'd hear people talking about everything from daily life to politics to gossip. From time to time, you might catch jokes and off-color language, maybe even an occasional slur. Now, of course, I'm not saying all of that's great, and you or I might find a lot of it offensive or obnoxious. But people feel free to talk. They're not cowering under the shadow of an authoritarian left that's canceled everybody into submission and declared practically everything offensive. Basically, in spite of your constant dire warnings, the future isn't that bad of a place.
Yeah, that might be how it is for the average person on the street, but I bet you anything that conservative voices are still being silenced in the entertainment and the media.
Well, we still have conservative talking heads all over the media talking about how they're being silenced by the media, but...
I feel like that's a jab at me.
Take it as you will. But if you want to see the state of the media, well, I'd take you somewhere like a newsstand or bookstore, but, you know.
Yeah, I get it. The future.
Yeah, if I took you to a bookstore in the future, we wouldn't hear the end of it in the comments. So let's just say almost all writing is now published online. And if you even casually browse through the popular books of the day, you'll find writings by everybody from legitimate academics to conspiracy theorists to sensationalists to fundamentalists to questionable self-help gurus to hate mongers and edgelords, and you'll find them running everywhere along the political spectrum from liberal to conservative. Though those political affiliations don't take the exact shapes you'd recognize from your time. And if we go to TV, or the hybrid of social media, YouTube, and streaming services, that comes closest to what you'd recognize as TV, but that would take forever to explain, you'll find not only a greater range of programming than you'd have dreamed even in your time, but an overwhelming variety of news services targeted at segmented niche markets, each with specific interests and ideologies, but most having very little interest or knowledge of journalistic methodology. In a way, it's an appalling state of affairs that's driven people further into their echo chambers, solidified their unjustified confidence in how right they are about everything, and amplified their pettiest disagreements. But hey, it's not the mainstream media, right?
Another jab at me?
Again, take it as you will. But another thing it's not is the monolithic, all-powerful liberal cancel culture you seemed to think was coming. In fact, it's quite the opposite. As the vast information and stark social fragmentation allowed by online networks has continued to divide society into online echo chambers filled with increasingly radicalized communities. When you're as insular and self-reinforcing as these communities are, it's easy to become obsessively controlling, yet neurotically fearful of being controlled. Which means that, ironically, this ideologically diverse environment is the perfect place to convince your in-group that it's being silenced by a huge monolithic boogeyman you can't point to or even clearly define, but that it's definitely about to take over society. This gives the most aggressively totalitarian ideologies an excuse to throw themselves on the floor and act like victims every time they experience pushback within the open marketplace of ideas they claim to be advocating for.
So you're trying to tell me that it's all in my head? That the left never...
No, of course I'm not saying the left never overreacts or becomes controlling. And I'm not saying cancel culture has never gone too far. I just caution you against overreacting to it while ignoring your own controlling nature. And also against just making shit up. For the love of God, please stop just making shit up. But most of all, I just wanted to show you that your apocalyptic vision of the left turning society into an ideological dictatorship hasn't come true. Yes, the way people talk today sounds different from what you're used to. But that's because our understanding of what's polite and impolite, offensive and inoffensive, is always changing. It's changed since your time just as it had changed from the time of your parents and your grandparents. It's an ever-evolving process. Sometimes it happens organically without us even noticing, and sometimes spurred along by protest and ongoing cultural debates. Now, I know some changes can feel jarring in the moment, especially when they affect something you remember from your childhood. But keep in mind that even stuff from your childhood arose from the same process of change. In other words, things are going to be okay. Now there's one more thing I want to show you.
Wonderful.
This is your gravesite. Notice anything about it?
No, nothing remarkable.
Again, the point is in what we're not seeing. No flowers, no shrines, no decorations. These are the kinds of things that adorn the graves of people who actually produced something meaningful. Works of art, great books, songs, performances on stage and screen. But nobody brings them to the resting place of a shit-stirring talking head. Yes, they love you while you're riling them up and validating their dumbest fears. And this will earn you fame in the moment. But once that moment passes, you're just gone.
So last night in my bed, I was visited by 3 spirits. They came to me offering a new perspective on what we call cancel culture, and they showed me visions that suggest that maybe the issue isn't as simple or as monolithic as the left trying to control everybody's lives.
Sounds like some fake news to me.
Exactly! What we're seeing here is the obvious liberal bias of the ethereal realm. Make no mistake, these left-wing elitist ghosts with their cherry-picked facts and obviously slanted editorializing are out to push an agenda. So if you think you're going to hear anything fair and balanced from mainstream nightly apparitions, you have another...
This program was made possible by a grant from John Adams, Bob Generic, Maggie Danger, S.R. Foxley, The Crowd Pleaser, and Q, and by the generous support of viewers like you. If you'd like to join them in pledging to this channel, please find a link to the Prophet of Zod Patreon below.